Mahatma Gandhi Hospital was established in the year 2000. We have 1,450 beds. 350 are in the ICU, which are fully equipped with ventilators and all monitors. The daily OPD footfall is around 3,500 patients.
At the Shri Ram Cancer Center of the Mahatma Gandhi Medical College Hospital in Jaipur, we see about 200 to 300 patients on a daily basis.
एक दिन में 3-3, 4-4 microvascular reconstructions होते हैं. We are also doing robotic surgery along with reconstructions. Head and neck surgery सबसे ज़्यादा होती है और breast में reconstructive surgery होती है, oncoplastic surgery होती है. हमारे पास world class facilities हैं और world class center हैं.
We have been able to successfully perform more than 100 transplants with a success rate of more than 92%. This makes us one of the leading transplant centers of our country due to the philanthropic effort of our founder chairperson Dr. M.L. Swarankar. We are able to keep this cost fairly subsidized between rupees 15 lakhs to rupees 18 lakhs all inclusive.
रोजाना हम 2 से 3 किडनी ट्रांसप्लांट कर रहे हैं और अब तक हम 2127 ट्रांसप्लांट कर चुके हैं. हमारा महात्मा गांधी किडनी ट्रांसप्लांट सेंटर हिंदुस्तान के टॉप 5 सेंटर्स में से एक है.
ये हमारे हॉस्पिटल की डायलिसिस यूनिट है जिसमें करीब 50 से ज्यादा डायलिसिस मशीन है. करीब हम पर डे 100 से ज्यादा डायलिसिस करते हैं.
We have a 10-bed fully equipped advanced bone marrow transplant unit. Full number of transplants done exceeds 250 transplants.
We are doing more than 250 cases per month. Endoscopic skull-based surgery, endoscopic spine surgery, complex spine operations with fixations using O-arm, and tumor surgery, vascular surgery, and epilepsy surgery.
Mahatma Gandhi Medical College and Hospital was founded in the year 2000. At present, we are having 250 MBBS seats, 201 MDMS seats, and 64 DM and MCS seats. All our programs, they are recognized by National Medical Commission and Government of India.
At our skill lab, we are offering CPR training, ACLS, BLS, ETLS, PALS.
जो बिहार से बोल रहे हैं, गया से. बुखार कब से आ रहा है?
क्या तकलीफ है आपको?
Mahatma Gandhi Dental College and Hospital was started in the year 2003, and we are now admitting 100 students in the BDS course and 31 students every year in the MDS course.
हमारे माता पिता ने बचपन से ऐसे संस्कार दिए कि दूसरों की सेवा करना सबसे बड़ा मनुष्य जीवन में एक कर्तव्य है. फॉर्चुनेटली घर के पास में प्राइमरी हेल्थ सेंटर था जिसमें माता पिता हमेशा जो भी पेशेंट्स आते थे, उनके अटेंडेंट्स आते थे, उनकी सेवा करते रहते थे. तो पिताजी का ये भाव था कि मैं डॉक्टर बनूं और लोगों की सेवा करूं. इस भावना को लेके 99 में हमने ये मेडिकल कॉलेज बनाने का सोचा. ईश्वर की कृपा से 2000 में शिलान्यास हुआ और 2 अक्टूबर जो महात्मा गांधी जी की जन्मतिथि है जो उनकी, उस पर हमने ये अपना महात्मा गांधी अस्पताल, महात्मा गांधी मेडिकल कॉलेज शुरू किया जयपुर में। हम न केवल राजस्थान में बल्कि भारत में गिने चुने जो मेडिकल कॉलेज हैं प्राइवेट सेक्टर के, उनमें से एक है, परंतु ये जर्नी काफ़ी लंबी है। और संस्थान को मैं चाहता हूँ कि देश का और विश्व का एक सर्वश्रेष्ठ संस्थानों में से एक हमारा संस्थान भी हो, ऐसी हमारी ईश्वर से प्रार्थना है। जो मेरे बेटे हैं, बड़े बेटे डॉक्टर विकास स्वरणकार, वो इस समय इसके चांसलर हैं, चेयरपर्सन हैं और इसको काफ़ी अच्छी तरह से आगे बढ़ा रहे हैं।
महात्मा गांधी मेडिकल कॉलेज एंड हॉस्पिटल was by my father in the year 1999, and subsequently this institution evolved into a medical university. The university has been making rapid progress and advancements in the field of medical education, research and healthcare facilities. The university campus is spread over an area of almost 45 acres, and the total built-up area is close to 2.5 million square feet, having total number of students close to 4,500. The institute is presently having MDMS in 30 subjects, the DMMCH courses in medical and surgical specialties in 23 subjects, which is highest in the state of Rajasthan, even more than the government medical colleges. We have recently installed the facility of CyberKnife radiation surgery device used for treating neurological malignancies, prostate malignancies, pulmonary malignancies. The Mahatma Gandhi Medical College and Hospital would be celebrating its Silver Jubilee in October 2025, and on that occasion, the university will commission its Silver Jubilee Towers. The Silver Jubilee Towers are dedicated pediatric hospital having almost 250 beds, and a liver and digestive sciences institute having close to 200 beds.
हमारे यहाँ पे 100 से अधिक एजुकेशनल प्रोग्राम्स चल रहे हैं, 550 से अधिक फैकल्टी मेंबर्स हैं, 8 कॉलेज हैं, इनको रिकग्निशन प्राप्त है राजस्थान सरकार से, भारत सरकार से।
वैष्णव जन तो तेने कहिए जे पीड़ पराई जाने रे। वैष्णव जन तो तेने कहिए जे पीड़ पराई जाने रे।
Namaskar and a very good morning to all. Esteemed dignitaries, guests, the administrative and academic heads of our university, principals of the constituent colleges, senior clinicians, faculty members, and the postgraduate and undergraduate students of our university. On behalf of the Mahatma Gandhi University of Medical Sciences and Technology, it gives me immense pleasure to welcome you all to the prestigious University Oration, the fourth Dr. K.D. Gupta Memorial Oration. This series of orations is a tribute to one of the most distinguished physicians of our state, former principal of Sardar Patel Medical College, Bikaner, Param Pujniye, late Dr. Krishna Dayal Gupta. On this occasion, it is our privilege and honor to welcome our esteemed guest and today's orator, internationally renowned cardiologist and pioneer in the field of cardiovascular disease prevention, Professor of Medicine, Academic Director, Westmead Applied Research Centre, Faculty of Medicine and Health at the University of Sydney, Australia, Professor Clara Chow. Professor Clara shall be delivering the fourth Dr. K.D. Gupta oration on a very interesting and I think one of the most debatable topic in this era, artificial intelligence in clinical practice, opportunities and barriers. Most respectfully, I also extend a warm welcome to the visionary founder and emeritus chairperson of Mahatma Gandhi University of Medical Sciences and Technology, Professor of Obstetrics and Gynecology, and an internationally acclaimed specialist in reproductive medicine and IVF technology, Honorable Dr. M.L. Swarankar. Respected sir and ma'am, may I request you to kindly take your seats on the dais. We are also extremely pleased to welcome the proud sons of late Dr. K.D. Gupta, renowned physician and preventive cardiologist and a great academician, Dr. Rajiv Gupta, and his younger brother, Senior Professor of Medicine and Pathology, the Eliezer Feij Riker Chair of Translational Medicine at the Albert Einstein College of Medicine, New York, Dr. Sanjeev Gupta. Please join me in welcoming the Chairperson Chancellor of Mahatma Gandhi University of Medical Sciences and Technology, Dr. Vikas Chandra Swarankar, the Vice Chancellor, Mahatma Gandhi University, Dr. Achal Gulati, and the Pro Vice Chancellor, Mahatma Gandhi University, Dr. V.K. Kapoor. As the dignitaries take their seats on the dais, I also extend a warm and cordial welcome towards all dignitaries, guests, family and friends of late Dr. K.D. Gupta who have joined us this morning to witness this Dr. K.D. Gupta Oration 2025. As a mark of auspiciousness, divinity, positivity and wisdom, may I now request our guests and dignitaries seated on the dais to commence today's program with the lamp lighting ceremony. Thank you all. As a gesture of our gratitude and pleasure in having our guest and orator for this prestigious oration today, it is time now to formally welcome her by presentation of floral bouquets. And for this, may I request Dr. M.L. Swarankar and also Mrs. Meena Swarankar, the Vice Chairperson of India Education Trust. Ma'am, kindly come up on the stage to welcome our guest. Please give a huge round of applause to our chief guest and orator, Professor Clara Chow. I would also like to request the chairperson cum chancellor of our university, Dr. Vikas Chandra Swarankar, to present a floral bouquet to Professor Clara. Next, I would request the Vice Chancellor of Mahatma Gandhi University, Dr. Achal Gulati, to present a floral bouquet and welcome Dr. Rajiv Gupta. And may I request the Pro Vice Chancellor of our university, Dr. V.K. Kapoor, to present a floral bouquet and welcome Dr. Sanjeev Gupta. I would now like to invite the Chairperson cum Chancellor of Mahatma Gandhi University of Medical Sciences and Technology, Dr. Vikas Chandra Swarankar, to formally welcome all the dignitaries and guests this morning. Please have a round of applause for Dr. Vikas Chandra Swarankar.
Thank you. Professor Clara Chow, orator for today's fourth Dr. K.D. Gupta Memorial Oration, and the chief guest of today's program, Dr. M.L. Swarankar, founder, chairman, and chairperson emeritus, Dr. Rajiv Gupta, Dr. Sanjeev Gupta, Dr. Achal Gulati, Dr. V.K. Kapoor, distinguished guests, faculty members, and dear students. I, on behalf of Mahatma Gandhi University of Medical Sciences and Technology, extend a very warm welcome to all of you. It's truly a pleasure to see all of you here today on one of the most special academic occasions of our university, the Dr. K.D. Gupta Memorial Oration. This oration is not just an event, it's a celebration of excellence, legacy, and of inspiration. Also, we gather today to pay tribute to Dr. K.D. Gupta, a name that commands deep respect and repute in the world of medicine. It reminds us of the values that make medicine not only a science, but also an art of healing. Dr. K.D. Gupta was born in 1922 in the city of Bikaner and graduated in medicine from King Edward Medical College in Lahore in the year 1946. He did his residency in internal medicine from Government Medical College of Punjab University in 1949. In 1951, he proudly taught the first graduating class of SMS Medical College, Jaipur. Dr. Gupta portrayed, or rather personified, many roles effectively, that of a brilliant teacher, an outstanding yet a very compassionate clinician, and an astute administrator. Thousands of his undergraduate and postgraduate students learned the great art and science of medicine from Dr. Gupta through his remarkable clinical teaching and interpersonal relationship building skills. Dr. Gupta had a passion of clinical and academic research. He had more than 200 publications in medicine in the fields of allergy and immunology, liver disease, cardiovascular pathophysiology in national and international journals. He was more than an outstanding physician. He was a compassionate teacher, a visionary academic leader, and above all, a role model for generations of doctors, including my father and our founder chairman, Chairperson Emeritus Dr. M.L. Swarankar. Today, it gives us immense pride to welcome a truly distinguished orator, Professor Clara Chow, Professor of Medicine, Cardiology, and Academic Director of Westmead Applied Research Centre at the University of Sydney, Australia. Professor Chow is a globally recognized figure for her pioneering work in cardiovascular disease prevention, digital health innovation, and clinical trials. Her contributions have been published in more than 300 top international journals, and her research continues to shape how healthcare systems worldwide address heart disease and preventive medicine. Beyond her academic brilliance, she leads with vision and purpose as the director of Australian Stroke and Heart Accelerator, a member of West Sydney Lead Hospital District Governing Board, and a board member of National Heart Foundation. Her remarkable work has earned her numerous honors, including Order of Australia and Telstra Health Brilliant Women in Digital Health Award. Professor Chow, it is indeed a great privilege to have you with us today. The topic of your oration, Artificial Intelligence in Clinical Practice, Opportunities and Barriers, is all the more relevant in our present times. According to Harvard Business School, the professions most affected or threatened, if I may say so, by AI are medicine and finance, banking. Artificial intelligence has already begun to transform the way we diagnose, treat, and even prevent diseases. It is helping us read scans more accurately, predict cardiac events earlier, and personalize treatments in ways that were unimaginable just a few years ago. The possibilities are enormous: faster diagnosis, more precise interventions, and smarter healthcare delivery. With the advent of machines, what happened in 1,000 years happened in a century. With the advent of World Wide Web or the internet, what happened in a century happened in a decade. And with the advent of AI, what happened in a decade is happening in a year, if not matter of months. Things are changing with enormous speed, and we have to match this with our ability to adapt and execute. Yet, as with every powerful technology, there are challenges too, those of ethics, data privacy, reliability, and most importantly, to ensure that technology enhances rather than replaces the human connection at the heart of medicine. We must remember that while AI can analyze data, it cannot offer empathy. It can predict a diagnosis, but it cannot hold a patient's hand. And it is where the true art of medicine will always lie, in balancing innovation with compassion. At Mahatma Gandhi University, we take pride in nurturing such forward-looking conversations. Our vision has always been to combine cutting-edge science with human values, and today's oration beautifully reflects that spirit. Ma'am, I would like to utilize this opportunity to submit a brief introduction about our organization, though I know you have had a physical round of the facilities and the campus of Mahatma Gandhi University. Our university, MGUMST, is proud to be an exclusive private medical university established by an act of Rajasthan State Assembly. The Mahatma Gandhi Medical College and Hospital was founded in the year 2000 with the consistent pursuit of excellence in education, research and healthcare. It was elevated to the status of a university in the year 2011. We are delighted to share that the university is NAC NAAC accredited with an A+ grade. NAC is a federal body for grading and accrediting Indian universities. Mahatma Gandhi Medical College and Hospital holds the prestigious Joint Commission International JCI accreditation, making it country's first academic medical center to achieve this global recognition, and probably the only so far. Our teaching hospital, Mahatma Gandhi Hospital, is the largest private hospital in the state of Rajasthan that is accredited by JCI, NABH and NABL. With over 1,450 beds. It stands as a pioneer in advanced healthcare, particularly in the field of organ transplantation. Mahatma Gandhi Hospital has the distinction of performing first heart transplant, first liver transplant, first pancreas transplant, and first cadaveric kidney transplant in the state of Rajasthan. Our renal transplantation team has conducted almost 2,500 kidney transplants so far, including the ABO incompatible transplant, two-way, three-way, and six-way swap renal transplants. The hospital also runs an advanced living-related donor liver transplant program, performing close to 4 to 5 liver transplants every month with outcomes at par with the global standards. Credit for this goes to our digestive sciences team, encompassing experts from hepatopancreatobiliary surgery, hepatology, gastrointestinal surgery, and medical gastroenterology. To date, close to 150 liver transplants have been performed in the institute so far. Shri Ram Cancer and Super Specialty Center is the state's largest multidisciplinary oncology setup with nearly 400 dedicated oncology beds equipped with cutting-edge technology like the Da Vinci robotic surgery, the CyberKnife radio stereotactic surgery system, linear accelerators, 3 Tesla MRIs, PET scans, etc., to name a few. Our Department of Clinical Hematology runs a successful bone marrow transplant for neoplastic and thalassaemic conditions. The Department of IHBT, our blood center, is American Association of Blood Banking and NABH accredited and is one of the largest and most advanced blood banks in the state of Rajasthan, equipped with component separation facilities, HLA typing, and flow cytometry technologies. The Center for Neurosciences and Cardiac Sciences routinely performs advanced and complex cardiac and neurological procedures. Our neurosurgical and cardiac teams use the latest technologies, including the intraoperative O-arm, mobile and intraoperative CT scanning, neuronavigation systems, and 4 state-of-the-art cath labs, including for comprehensive stroke management program using the state's one of the few biplanar cath labs. Mahatma Gandhi Medical College and Hospital is recognized by the National Governing Body of Medical Education, the National Medical Commission, and approved by the Government of India. It offers 250 annual MBBS admissions, 200 annual postgraduate admissions across all major medical and surgical specialties, and 64 admissions in super specialty or subspecialty as you have in your country, DMMCH programs covering fields such as hepatology, hepatopancreatobiliary surgery, medical and surgical gastroenterology, clinical hematology, medical and surgical oncology, oncopathology, neurosurgery, urology, cardiothoracic surgery, cardiology, neurology, nephrology, reproductive medicine, and organ transplant anesthesia. Mahatma Gandhi University comprises of 8 constituent colleges, including a postgraduate dental college, postgraduate nursing and physiotherapy colleges, occupational therapy college, Institute of Allied Health Sciences, Institute of Health Informatics, and College of Hospital Administration, offering a wide range of advanced programs across medical, allied, and healthcare disciplines. With its world-class infrastructure, advanced clinical facilities, and commitment to academic excellence, Mahatma Gandhi University stands today as one of the most comprehensive and progressive centers for medical education, research, and healthcare in the country. I would like to take a moment to thank the organizing committee, especially family of Dr. K.D. Gupta, Dr. Sanjeev Gupta ji, Dr. Rajiv Gupta, and other family members, and everyone else who worked behind the scenes to make this event possible. And to all the students and faculty members present here, I encourage you to listen, reflect, and carry forward the wisdom that today's session, I am sure, is going to offer. As we begin, let us remember the legacy of Dr. K.D. Gupta, a man who devoted his life to the service of humanity and furtherance of medical education. Once again, I extend my warmest welcome to all of you. May today's oration enrich our minds, touch our hearts, and remind us why medicine remains one of the most noble callings on earth. Thank you. Jai Hind.
Thank you so much, sir. Born on 12th October 1922, Dr. K.D. Gupta graduated from the King Edward's Medical College, Lahore, and thereafter obtained his MD degree from Punjab University in the year 1949. Starting his academic career from the SMS Medical College, Jaipur in the year 1951, Dr. Gupta spent a major part of his tenure at the Sardar Patel Medical College, Bikaner. Those who had the opportunity to spend time with him as a colleague, student, or a family member fondly remember him as a brilliant teacher, an outstanding clinician, and an astute administrator and a caring mentor. I take pride in sharing that late Dr. K.D. Gupta was a major force in the establishment of this institution, and in his memory, our founder and emeritus chairperson, Dr. M.L. Swarankar, named the Central Library of our university as the Dr. K.D. Gupta Knowledge Resource Center. Before we witness today's oration, I would now like to invite renowned preventive cardiologist, Dr. Rajiv Gupta, to throw light on the incredible journey and countless contributions of his father, Param Pujniya, most revered, late Dr. K.D. Gupta. May I request you, sir, to please come and share.
Good morning, and thank you all very much for being here. It's a great and special occasion, and I thank Clara for being here. Actually, I have known Clara for the last 20 years now. She was doing her PhD in global health in India, and somehow she encountered my papers at that time on rural health, and that's where the association began. And then we met in many places. I think St. John Medical College, Bangalore was one of them, and we keep on meeting annually at the Pure Study meetings. So welcome to India, Clara. Professor Clara is a brilliant speaker, and I think in the Pure Study what we have is a competition that will be the speaker at different centers every year, and she beats everyone else. So then you will enjoy her talk. She's a professor, a teacher, a clinician, a clinical cardiologist, and futuristic preventive cardiologist. I think many years ago she realized that prevention has to move away from from clinics into populations, into health systems. And that's where right now she's working, and she's been working for the last 10 years, even before the COVID epidemic struck and the information technology boomed. She was already working on information technology, artificial intelligence, and she's only one of the receivers of Google Challenge. I think there is a great example of her inventiveness. She received the $1 million prize from Google, and that was a great thing to do, actually. So congratulations. My father, Professor K.D. Gupta, was a great teacher, a great clinician, a greater host, actually. And most of his students know that he used to entertain them not only with good jokes and high-quality jokes mixed with education, mixed with teaching, even in the classes that he taught, but also sumptuous food which my mother used to make. We'll have a short documentary on him, prepared by our family and narrated by my sister, Indu, so can we have that?
Dr. K.D. Gupta was one of the most senior and distinguished physicians in Rajasthan who received his primary education in the village of Ballabgarh, Haryana, and completed his secondary education at the Government High School at the district headquarters of Gurgaon in the late 1930s. He then went to Lahore for further studies, which was a major educational and cultural center in North India. Dr. Gupta excelled in his studies at the DAV College in Lahore and was considered to be one of the most successful and brilliant students at the college. Subsequently, he was accepted at the King Edward Medical College in Lahore and graduated from there in 1946. Immediately after becoming a physician, he joined the provincial medical services of the Bikaner state, where he quickly made a mark in the presence of outstanding physicians led by the Venerable Professor Weingarten of tropical eosinophilia fame. This experience enthused him to obtain further expertise, and in 1950 he obtained an MD degree from Punjab University and joined the Rajasthan State Medical Services and was posted as a medical specialist in Kota. In 1952, he joined as a lecturer at the Department of Medicine at the newly established SMS Medical College, Jaipur, which was the first medical college in the state and was affiliated with the Rajasthan University. He had the distinction of teaching the first graduating class of the SMS Medical College and made a mark with an original style of teaching and was renowned for his clinical acumen and academic depth and breadth. In 1956, Dr. Gupta was awarded the prestigious Lederle International Fellowship in Allergy and Immunology and worked at St. Mary's Hospital, London and the Temple University, Philadelphia for 2 years. This overseas experience in academic medicine became an important forming event in Dr. Gupta's career. Upon his return, he started the first allergy clinic in India at the SMS Hospital in Jaipur, which was later taken up by other institutions in the country. In 1962, he was appointed professor and head of the Department of Medicine at the SP Medical College, Bikaner, where he went on to become the principal of the college and the Dean of Medical Studies at the University of Rajasthan. In 1977, he retired from governmental positions after having completed 31 years of highly distinguished service. Dr. Gupta had a lifelong involvement in basic and clinical research and had over 200 publications in fields of allergy and immunology, liver disease, and cardiovascular pathophysiology in national and international journals. His hypothesis of infections as a cause of chronic liver disease and gut-liver interaction is still a hot topic in hepatology. He was honored by several fellowships, state and national awards. He was an extremely popular teacher, and his lectures and bedside teaching methods inspired thousands of undergraduate and postgraduate students who remember his legendary clinical teaching and interpersonal skills. These students are spread not just in India, but far and wide across the globe. He was extraordinarily popular as a friend of students and an avid supporter of cultural activities, and his students still remember his captivating voice and mesmerizing rendering of songs and ghazals, which were an ever-popular star attraction at annual functions and picnics of the medical college. Students still remember the annual holy festivities at his home with songs, dancing and gulab jamuns. After retiring, he settled in Jaipur as a consultant physician and was appointed as an emeritus professor by the government of Rajasthan. Moreover, he served as the chairman of the Rajasthan Red Cross, established the very first private blood bank in Rajasthan, and was also a guiding light in the setting up of the first private medical college, the Mahatma Gandhi Institute of Medical Sciences in the state, where the Central Library has been named after him. He remained busy until the very end with his clinical activities. For Dr. K.D. Gupta, his family and his extended family of students were his pride and joy, and he loved to meet and sing and laugh with them till the very end.
Thank you very much. And just on this occasion, I'd like to honor one of his oldest students, Dr. R.K. Sharma, sitting here on the first row. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir, for sharing this memorable journey of your father. Ladies and gentlemen, we have already introduced our orator, but very briefly, as you know, Professor Clara Chow is an internationally acclaimed cardiologist and has immensely contributed to the cause of cardiovascular prevention. I'm sure we would all like to know more about her accomplishments and achievements. And for this, I would like to request Dr. Sanjeev Gupta to formally introduce her to the audience and also to recite her citation. And at this moment, may I request you, ma'am, to kindly come in the center of the stage as Dr. Sanjeev reads out your citation. So please.
So thank you for everyone being here. And you just saw the hard work Indu put into creating this documentary. She is right here along with our brother-in-law, Mr. Vijay Agarwal. Let's give her a hand again. So it's not my task to roast you, but I am also not going to repeat some of the good things that have already been said. But I'm truly pleased, honored, and happy to go over some of your accomplishments. There are too many for me to go over in toto, so we'll be selective. So Professor Clara Chow grew up in Sydney, and she has had her entire career more or less in Sydney, except for 90% of the time, it seems to me that she is internationally traveling or doing other things. After getting into the medical school, I was asking her what enthused her into pursuing science and various other things. And it turns out that her first foray internationally was not science related, but related to journalism, of all places, Japan. But then she has an ancestry that is cosmopolitan, more or less, including genes from Japan and China and Australia. And so it's no wonder that she excelled in her pursuits in Japan. The leading newspaper from Tokyo was where she did her stint. And somehow that then propelled her to go deeper into medicine as well. And from Japan, she hopped on to Bangladesh, where she began to do work out there in diseases and quickly realized that while treatments are one thing, but it's the prevention that should matter more. And that is the message she took inside of her back to Australia. And then completed her medical education, but then wanted to do more. And so she ended up in London and then in Canada. There was this prestigious active George Institute in Sydney that was devoted initially to cardiovascular diseases. And through that aegis, she then spent time at McMaster's in Canada, working with one of the leading cardiac epidemiologists over there who had set up an astonishing program of epidemiological research, and that's what she joined. And I'm not going to talk about her mentor in that way, but then she went back, completed her training, got additional experience, and then became heavily involved in these international epidemiology and preventive aspects of cardiology. And that's where then she began to come across additional work. And some of the work that Rajiv mentioned that she came up against was when she was doing field work as part of her PhD work in Andhra Pradesh, and looking at how there could be a scalable approach to medicine by using technology to solve common problems, hypertension and various other things. And then that became her subsequent focus as well. And so the research career, then she has been highly innovative, and we were talking about some of her studies using texting, where after discharges from the hospital, after MIs, myocardial infarctions, to improve outcomes, she set up a landmark randomized controlled study to find out if there were interactions through these textings, to find out how people were doing and what they should be doing and what should they not be doing. She was able to show marked improvements in outcomes. And then there was another study that she has been pursuing or pursued and completed, and that was to do large-scale improvements in disease management through a quadruple pill, a pill containing 4 medications, small amounts. There have been other efforts like this as well, but it was the small amounts of multiple medications to control hypertension, and that was well tolerated, had significant improvements in outcomes as well. So that is the spirit of innovation that she has carried all through her training and subsequent career. And as we heard, Google gave her an award for applying technology-based solutions to health as well. And that's where the next chapter is going to unfold, using artificial intelligence and so on to achieve additional things. Now, there's a large oration citation. I'm not going to read that. You'll read that on the plane back. But she is the academic director of the Westmead Applied Research Center at the University of Sydney. University of Sydney is one of the most prominent universities in Australia. And Westmead, for those of you who do not know, is a large complex of the university, including medical school and all the hospital settings, children's hospital, etc. It's a bit further away from the downtown Sydney, but because of the proximity of all the faculty and students and services and facilities, they are able to achieve more than is otherwise possible. She's also the clinical lead, as would be understandable, of community-based cardiac services with all her background in preventive cardiology at the Westmead Hospital. And then she serves important roles in the larger community in the local health district. And health district means in the Australian system, they are the regulators, administrators, and overseers of what should and should not be done. And then she is the director of the Australian Stroke and Heart Research Accelerator. And I assume that that is for innovation and looking at what the needs are and building on those needs to solve problems. She also has appointments as the academic co-director at the Charles Perkins Center in Westmead, and had the distinct honor of having been appointed the first woman president of the Cardiac Society of Australia and New Zealand. And if you think that there might be less patriarchy in those countries than here in India or the USA, and that is not necessarily the case, because she was the first woman president in 68 years of the society. Now, she has been nominated, I think, to the Order of Australia, and the only other person I know or heard about having been nominated to that signal honor was Nicole Kidman. And I say that because once I was taken to US Tennis Open in New York, and had those binoculars looking at who's attending rather than watching the ball being played, and I see Nicole Kidman in the audience. And Nina, sitting there laughing, has never let me forget that I was watching Nicole Kidman the entire 2-hour game, and not her. But the Order of Australia is a single, very important distinction. She's been involved in encouraging women's involvement in different areas. in minorities and so on, which is the DEI, diversity, inclusion, and equity. It's a bad term these days in America, so I don't want to dwell on it too much in case I get, taken away in handcuffs when I return. But those are, again, her additional activities. She's won Women of Excellence Awards in more than once. She's received the Australia Digital Health Technology Award, Telstra Health Brilliant Woman in Digital Health Award, and etc. So the fundamental aspect, of course, of scalable technology is that we are able to not only diagnose but improve outcomes as well. And all these activities we do as academic professionals come with the signal responsibility that we must be generous of our time in doing our work well, but mentoring the next generation as well. And that's where Professor Chow has been getting busier lately, taking on more mentees to grow their careers. And that's where, as we heard, my father excelled as well. While he has been involved in thousands of lives of students, many of whom remember him fondly, I think most of them do, because he could be a hard taskmaster. I remember him waking up at 4:30 in the morning to make sure that all the theses and papers were being written. And all the students, I'm sure, must be grumbling, why must I come at 4:30 in the morning? Why can't we do at 6 with a cup of tea, etc.? But he would be insistent that his mind worked best early in the morning and that his mind got devoted to singing later in the day. But then through all his clinical activities, one thing that kept, I think, recurring, again, to the chagrin of many of the trainees, was the generosity of time. He would go to see a patient, and there were complex patients where everything was wrong, and then there were patients where some things were wrong, but then there were always people where nothing was wrong. And all of those distinctions took time. So I remember one of his students telling me that on one of his rounds, he was lingering, going back to the history again and again, and the patient's wife was getting puzzled. So she tugs at the white coat of the tail end of that group and asks, is he not done yet? When is he going to leave? And then another few minutes later, she tugs the coat tail again and she says, the food is getting cold. Will he never leave? So those are the kinds of things that he was known for, not only the detail, but verification and re-verification. And we were talking about how our current EMR-based medical records get developed. The first person sees something, writes down, and other people keep copying and pasting. And so artificial intelligence, AI, is, of course, heavily dependent on machine learning based on the input. And if that initial input is not correct and has not been appropriately amplified, then what we might get at the end of it could well be hallucinogen-induced output. And so we will see how that work comes out as well. But so at the end of it, we are greatly honored by your presence, Professor Chow, and we look forward to learning, as was said earlier, to enrich our minds and hearts. And I personally welcome you again. Thank you.
So, ladies and gentlemen, please join me in warmly welcoming Professor Clara Chow to deliver this fourth Dr. K.D. Gupta oration. Please give a huge, huge round of applause for Professor Clara Chow.
Try not to fall over, huh? All right. Let me just, oops. Okay. Mm-hmm. Sure. Okay. Is that connected? It's warming up. All right. Can you hear me? Excellent. All right. Well, maybe while that's just warming up. Perfect. All right. Well, firstly, I want to say thank you very much. What an honour to have been invited to give this oration here today. You know, I first heard from my good friend, Dr. Rajiv Gupta, a number of months ago about this event, and I, you know, said I must do it. Somehow I must do it, and I'm very pleased to be here today. It's been lovely to have been welcomed by Dr. V.C. Swarankar, and also have an amazing tour of the facility from Dr. ML Swarankar, as well as the whole team. Been very impressed by the many clinicians and heads of department I've met today who've been so enthusiastic about their work, and it makes me think the future is very bright for you here in Jaipur, if it's not already an amazing service you're delivering, so congratulations on that. I feel a little bit embarrassed about all of the things that I've just heard from Sanjeev here. I hope I can do at least some justice to that really, really lovely introduction. But anyway, I think I will get started. I feel that maybe you want to all stand up and shake your hands and move around, so feel free to do that and move around in this presentation. But I am very excited to talk about this topic. I think artificial intelligence is a really exciting area for us to think about in healthcare. It's a very important area for us to think about, but I think we really need to understand it. We do need to embrace it, but we do need to understand it really well, because it definitely has its strengths, it definitely has its weaknesses, and I think there are barriers to how we do implement it, but there are also smart ways that we can think about it. Look, this is just an initial slide of disclosures. I think you've heard some of them already. I firstly wanted to show you where I work. This is my home. The Westmead Applied Research Centre at the University of Sydney is my main affiliation, but this is our innovation centre in front of our hospital. And I learned today that we're also, our innovation centre, which is at the centre of our precinct, is also 12 floors, which is the same number of floors as the hospital here. And our cardiology departments are on the top floors, and our research and innovation centre are in the middle floors. And the goal of our Westmead Applied Research Centre is to create, evaluate, as well as apply innovative clinical and digital health approaches to reduce the burden of chronic health conditions, cardiometabolic as well as chronic health conditions. And our core values are innovation, frugality, co-design and value-based care. And people do ask me about frugality, and I do say to them that, you know, being frugal doesn't mean being cheap, but what we want to think about is what simple things we can do that can be scaled to many people. And sometimes it is simpler things that are able to be scaled to many people, and identifying those simple but effective things that we can scale and make a large difference is what I think about when I talk about frugal innovation. All right, so I know everybody knows what artificial intelligence is now. I mean, when I first started working in this area, everyone didn't know what it was, but I do feel like everybody does know. But I'm going to just give a few introductory words around some of the terms I'm going to use in this talk. AI, as you know, was first coined in 1955, so it's been around for a long time. It's the science of engineering, of making intelligent machines, and it's a branch of computer science that's focused on machines that are typically making sort of tasks or doing tasks that require human intelligence. ML, which is a sub-branch of AI, describes the algorithms and models that enable computer systems to make predictions without being explicitly programmed. And deep learning, which is, I think, where, it's become a household word, is a type of ML. It's got multiple layers, hierarchical features, and what's interesting about it is that it can ingest unstructured data, so different pictures and texts, and not just number data. And generative AI are deep learning models that can ingest the raw data. So natural language processing is a type of Gen AI. It ingests spoken language, and large language models produce text outputs. So that's my terminology lesson for the day. And just so you're familiar as I jump through these words. Now, what is this talk about? This talk is about the expanding role of artificial intelligence as well as digital health interventions in healthcare. And I think AI is now being talked about as having a potential role in many sectors of medicine: diagnosis, prevention, management, and I'm focused on how it can reduce the burden of chronic health conditions. Today I'll discuss a number of different sort of case studies and applications, but in broad terms I think about it as AI making a huge difference in how we do research, as well as how we do healthcare delivery. So in research, it's enabling us to analyse much larger data sets, and data sets, as I said, that not only have numbers, but text, images, and a lot of other types of data. It's enabled us to improve measurement, and it has led us to understanding human behaviour better, I think. So things like the wearable data and sort of the data that is from everyday kind of interactions with systems around us, it enables us to understand that better and therefore understand human behaviour better. And I think the potential is that we can then help support and change human behaviour. It has enabled us to do more effective or efficient trial designs and more efficient drug development as well. Now, on the healthcare delivery side, it's already making difference to efficiency. For example, medical documentation. I think AI notes is a big jump there, and it means that clinicians can talk to their patients as opposed to type their notes, which I think it is an improvement in efficiency. But it's also being used in quality improvement, risk assessment. But I think where things become potentially more exciting is how we can novelly apply it. And I'll try to give you some different examples here. So I suppose in broad terms, I think AI has already come in terms of improving efficiencies, improving how we do things more efficiently and faster. But I think the novel applications that extend human abilities is what we have to look forward to. And I hope you will think that as well. All right, so I'll start with how can AI help in diagnosis, the diagnosis areas in medicine. As I've already said, AI can improve efficiency and provide more in-depth analysis of test information. So for example, biological information, genomic, proteomic, that's been too much data for us to interpret, but with AI and machine learning, we're able to more rapidly analyse that data and get more deep insights. Also in risk assessment and medical imaging, which I'll talk about next. So in risk assessment, one of the questions is AI better than how we traditionally risk assess patients? There's no point, I suppose, in taking on new technologies without knowing that it's better than how we existingly do things. Now, I know that there's a lot of data on this, and I don't want you to focus in too much on the detail here, but the question we asked in this systematic review, led by one of my students, was, are AI-driven approaches better than traditional approaches in assessing risk? So at this stage, we conducted a systematic review and meta-analysis. We found 16 studies that had about 3.3 million participants and compared ML or machine learning to traditional risk scores. And it was the best ML approach. So people that know more about ML is that there's multiple different types of algorithms that can be used. But we took the best ML approach and compared it to the traditional approach. And overall, the best ML approach was better than the traditional approach, but only by a bit. The AUC is there, 0.773, gives you an idea of how well that model predicts. So 773 is pretty good out of a possible 1, and 0.759 was the traditional approach. So you see, not too much difference. But what I wanted you to get out of that figure over there is that you can see there's a lot of variability. Some of it agrees, some of it disagrees, some of it agrees, some of it disagrees. So that is a barrier actually to it. So do AI approaches, are they better than traditional? Well, yes, but maybe it is just that they're actually more superior at taking more data. And look, again, a little bit small for you to see. But what I wanted to show you here was the first line is what's called low covariate, so low numbers of data points. And you can see, fairly similar. And if you look at high covariate, whether it be ML or traditional, it's similar. All right, so when we take it by the number of variables, it's actually similar to traditional approaches. But the thing is, AI approaches generally take in a lot more data points, and that's what's making it better than traditional approaches. So I suppose in summary, AI approaches may be more accurate, but there are practical barriers to their implementation because the superiority is probably a function of the data. A lot of the qualities of the studies haven't been great so far, but the real challenge is that they don't publish their algorithms openly. A lot of the algorithms in these papers, we call them black box algorithms, and the studies have not been able to be replicated. And that is a barrier to our implementation because we don't know exactly what variables they looked at, exactly what algorithms, so it makes it very difficult to translate that into different communities or populations. So still, I think that this is not really ready for large-scale implementation. Maybe more open sourcing of code could address some of these barriers, but that's a very different way of thinking because at the moment, a lot of people are still quite protective of the AI algorithms they develop. But I think we're going to have to force ourselves to be more open about all of these things. All right, so the next area I'm going to touch on, so I'm a cardiologist, as you've noted, so ECGs are central to cardiology, as I'm sure you'll understand. But interestingly, this area has been asking, can AI derive more from the existing simple ECG than we could see as a clinician, as a doctor? So again, a little bit complicated, but I'll talk you through this. So can AI applied to ECGs obtain more detailed information on the future risk of a patient? So the first side here, MGH is Massachusetts General Hospital, okay? So this is just cohorts of data. So if you just look at the first column, if we think about whether we can predict the risk of a person developing atrial fibrillation. So the outcome here was, can this person develop atrial fibrillation? Now, age and sex is actually already pretty good. The AU-ROC curve here is 0.768. So just age and sex can help predict it. The Charge AF score is actually a clinical risk score. It predicts it better. Now, if we apply AI to an ECG, knowing nothing about the patient, but just applying AI to a normal sinus rhythm ECG, we can predict AF with a much larger AUC, 0.823. And if we combine the clinical risk score and the ECG AI, we get a AU-ROC of 0.838. So it's better. So I suppose the simple answer is it is better. But look, interestingly, across when they took the MGH algorithm and then they applied it in the UK Biobank, for example, or different hospitals, you can see along the ECG AI row, it's falling. It was 0.823 in MGH, but it's 0.705 in the UK Biobank. So it's interesting that even though, this algorithm was so good in the MGH data set, now that's the data set it was developed in, right? And this is just an ECG. And you would think ECGs are the same everywhere, but taking their algorithm and applying it in the UK Biobank, it wasn't as good. So it really opens up questions about what is AI looking at in these ECGs. And it's not as simple as, I pretty assume that a cardiologist in Sydney and a cardiologist here, if we look at an ECG, we'll be able to identify an ST elevation myocardial infarction. I'm 100% sure we'll say the same things. But the ECG AI is not doing that, which is very interesting. All right, so yes, I think AI ECG does improve a clinical algorithm ability to predict future of AF, but I hope you understand my but. It is not as easy to translate across our different health systems, and we don't yet know why, though obviously a lot of people are exploring that. All right, I'm going to give you one other application here of AI ECG in terms of thinking about screening populations. As you've heard, I'm pretty interested in how we can get population screening done in a both frugal and scalable manner. So we now have so many wearables and so many small devices that we can easily get single lead ECG. Sure, single lead ECG we know is not as good as 12 lead ECG, but this group has been developing algorithms to apply to single lead ECG to predict heart failure. So interesting. Look, the AUC is not great yet, but it's getting there. And I would imagine this would still be much better than just having, if we looked at a single lead ECG, it would be very hard for us as a clinician to predict their future heart failure. So this is extending our ability as a clinician to identify something in a test. So the idea that we're thinking about here is that maybe at a population level, this AI ECG could flag a person at potential high risk that could get referred into a clinical centre, and we could then better understand whether they have heart failure or not. So this is a potential use. So yes, AI can improve accuracy and efficiency of diagnosis from a single lead ECG. All right, I'm now going to touch on medical imaging. I understand you've got a lot more understanding of how AI can be applied to imaging, but I will take a couple of quick examples. So is AI accurate in assessing cardiac images? So this is a randomised clinical trial that has been published in the last couple of years, and what they did was they assessed the effect of AI versus sonographer assessment on the final cardiologist's interpretation of the LV ejection fraction from a transthoracic echo. So in other words, an echo, I think the system is similar, but when you have an echo, a sonographer pre-reports the echo and makes an assessment of the ejection fraction. And so that was one arm of the trial. The other arm was there was no sonographer. The AI did the assessment and assessed the ejection fraction. And the two arms were compared. Now, the primary outcome was substantial difference from the final medical assessment of ejection fraction. And as you can see in the AI group, there was 16.8% of them was different. But in the sonographer group, it was 27%. So it was, admittedly, both of them are large, okay? But, that's why clinicians are reporting these things. But it's much larger in the group that was sonographer pre-reported versus AI pre-reported. And furthermore, the AI assessment was much quicker. So this might be a useful tool. Admittedly, it's a question of how we better use our sonographer times as well. So yes, AI is probably more accurate in assessing images. And I wanted to show you the actual figure here. The AI is the red. You can see that maybe, the red, and the sonographer is the blue. And I suppose what this says to me is that it's not only about more accurate. Now, the difference in ejection fraction is actually small. So the actual absolute difference was, 2.79% versus 3.77%. But the variability is what is really different. So the AI is not only a little bit more accurate, it's much less variable compared to a human in assessing a test. Okay, well, I just said that. All right. The one other area I'm going to touch on with respect to imaging is, can AI select the correct imaging test in a clinical scenario? So I'm sure you have your resident medical officers or your doctors or your community doctors, they need to refer for the test, right? So what this was asking is, can a large language model select what is the best next test for the patient? So this compared multiple large language models applied to various clinical scenarios, and it compared the large language models suggestion or referral suggestion to a clinician and a radiologist with differing levels of experience. I'm not sure if you can read the prompt there. I can see it doesn't come out very well. But for you, those of you who've used ChatGPT and all of the large language models, this was basically a prompt model. And it said something like this: I would like you to assume the role of a radiology professor with 30 years of clinical and academic experience. I will provide you with the clinical information about my patients, including their possible diagnoses, specific conditions, etc. Based on the information, please recommend the most appropriate radiological imaging modality, etc., etc. Give me just one and most appropriate imaging modality. Additionally, you can recommend specific modalities, etc. But you get the feel. It basically asks the chatbot, what's the next best test? And what it showed was that it was incredibly accurate. 98% of cases, and these were ACR or American College of Radiology clinical scenarios, were appropriately referred to the next test. And if it was looked at non-ACR clinical scenarios, so more kind of real-world scenarios, AI performed better as well than junior doctors, but it performed similarly to radiologists. So, I mean, what does this says? Well, in some ways, I think that it says that LLMs can follow guidelines better. So it says that they're able to look at all of the guidelines, collate it very quickly, and very accurately report it. I look at this with interest because the question is that right? We all as clinicians apply guidelines with a whole other information, right? And sometimes it's not about just following the guidelines, but it's about when we shouldn't follow the guidelines. So I think it's difficult for us to make a clear assessment of what this means, but how people are using this, and when I say people, companies, industry are using this, is they're saying, look, AI is just much better than the clinicians. So I kind of wanted to give you that example for people to think about what it means when they say AI is better than the clinicians. Okay, the next area I'm going to talk about is AI in clinical management and in clinical services. So I think AI could improve the quality of clinical management and could be utilised to support patient management in the community. So I think many people are interested in how AI can help in clinical services. This one trial that has just been published relatively recently asked the question, can an AI ECG, and I've introduced you to what AI ECG is, create clinically actionable alerts to identify the deteriorating patient? So this is a hospital in Taiwan. What they did is that all of the ECGs that were occurring regularly in the hospital, all the monitoring, they applied an AI ECG on them. So, 15,965 patients were looked at in this study. And they randomized half of them to have an AI ECG alert, which basically meant that the AI analyzed the ECG and sent a warning message to the patient's clinician, the patient's physician, that this patient, there's something wrong. This patient's high risk. That's all it said. It didn't tell the doctor how to manage the patient. It didn't tell the doctor why it was high risk. It just said, AI alert, high risk. And the other half was just usual care. So the AI ECG was developed in their own hospital. As I told you before, if you're developing your own data, it seems to be the best way of getting the most accurate AI ECG, and it was a good one. And what they found is a reduction in all-cause mortality at 90 days in this intervention group, so 3.6% versus 4.3% in the control. It has a ratio of 0.83. So with this relatively simple system of incorporating AI ECG alerts, they were able to get a nearly 20% reduction in mortality. I mean, that's something, actually. Now, I suppose the question, though, they've said, or they have not been able to answer, is why did this work? Why did this work in this particular hospital? Is it just that the physicians thought the AI ECG was so important that they wanted to make sure that they proved it wrong, so they looked after those patients much better? Is it that they sent them more to the ICU? Is it did they keep them in hospital longer? They are looking at this, and I suppose we want to understand this, because there is a whole literature about alerts and alert fatigue. So maybe because this was a new thing in this hospital, they listened to all their alerts. I'm speaking to a lot of doctors around, I'm sure, that hear the binging all the time in the hospital wards and they do nothing. But, maybe it is the novelty of this that made it more effective in this group, but it's certainly interesting and something I think we should think about. All right, so yes, the alert system reduced mortality. So this, similar but slightly different, this is a question of can AI ECG prompt treatment? So in this trial, patients in ED all had an ECG performed and as part of their care, and the intervention arm had an AI ECG alert sent to the physician saying, look, this person is AF, their CHA2DS2-VASc score is this, and you should start oral anticoagulants, all right? I mean, some people would argue they didn't really need AI ECG for this, and it was just a prompt to begin anticoagulants. And I'm going to go through this quickly, but basically they did get a positive outcome. They had a higher number of oral anticoagulants prescribed in the intervention compared to the control group. And here, just looking at the intervention group here, this shows that the number of people identified with AF was similar in the intervention and the control group, but the number of people prescribed and indicated for NOACs was larger in the intervention compared to the control group. So one would argue that maybe the use of AI ECG, but also the prompt, the alert here has prompted improved quality of care, and I think that's the other area that people are starting to think about where this has got a good application, how we can improve the quality of care in our health services. While we all know these things need to be done, we often do studies and identify that people aren't managing patients appropriately. Maybe they forgot, maybe it got missed, whatever it is. This is another way to nudge us as clinicians to change our behaviours, to hopefully get us to prescribe the right thing to the right patient at the right time. All right, so the next area I'm going to touch on, and gosh, I hope that that you're able to sort of understand where I'm up to. But this is an area of research that we're doing. And what we asked was, can we do patient follow-up with conversational AI? So just to talk you through it. So these are patients with atrial fibrillation at our hospital or multiple hospitals. And they get a follow-up with an IVR phone call. And that says something like, hello, this is Westmead Hospital calling for Mr. Gary Chan. There are some important parts of your atrial fibrillation care that we want to help you with today. Yes or no, is this Gary? First, we'd like to check how your overall health is. Would you rate it as excellent, very good, fair or poor? In our last call, we mentioned the importance of seeing a GP regularly. Since your last visit at Westmead Hospital, have you seen or scheduled an appointment with your GP? Obviously, each of these questions wait for the patient to respond, and they take all of that information from the patient and they come up with, a risk score. But they also interact with the patient. Obviously, if the patient says different things, this is using natural language processing to interact with the patient. And they do a follow-up visit. So if they get a high risk score on the follow-up visit, we then ring them or we bring them into clinic. So all of these patients get this, but the high risk ones, we then go on to clinical assessment. And we've looked at this in a randomised clinical trial, comparing intervention, people that get that versus usual care. And this is just giving you an overall schedule. We do about 7 visits across the course of 6 months with this IVR. And after each virtual visit or each sort of telephone call, we also send them SMSs with additional educational links. We also send them links to different websites providing educational videos. So it's supplemented by other educational things, but it's all automated. So there's none of the manual thing. Our platform is sort of sending all of that without anyone intervening. So we're evaluating this in a randomised clinical trial, and we've actually just finished recruiting about 500 patients. So I can't tell you the final outcomes. We'll report next year. But I can tell you some of the feedback already from our interviews with patients, the positive elements and opportunities for improvement. So one side of this is the positive. So a number of the patients reported that it was engaging. It felt more human. So it's a human voice. We've chosen a human voice IVR. They felt like it was talking to a friend. We were pretty impressed by that. They felt there was a continuity of support. They valued it as a positive connection to our hospital. They felt like we still cared about them. The trustworthiness, they felt it was from us and it was hospital delivered, so they felt it was trustworthy. It enhanced their access to information about atrial fibrillation and management that was difficult to obtain from their usual clinicians, and they had more time and flexibility to access it. And overall, they felt it improved their health behaviours as it served a constant and regular reminder across the course of 6 months. Now, the negatives, though, were they thought that the dialogue was not flexible enough. They thought that there could be more tailoring, particularly to acknowledge some of their existing knowledge. They thought it would be more useful if the calls were times with when they were currently having symptoms, which is difficult. And they thought maybe more novel content and maybe more updates of the content with their clinical care. So we only took data from the initial assessment and we didn't take data as we go along. But some of these things are very addressable with technology, and we are already addressing some of these with technology. And they also thought that we should integrate with ECG monitoring devices, which again makes sense. As I said, we don't have overall evaluation yet, but I just wanted to show you the engagement data. So look, not everybody took up the IVR. Some of them still preferred either clinical visits or phone calls. But the first visit, 76% of patients took it and completed it. And over time, at the last virtual visit at about 7 months, about 50% of patients were still taking visits by this method. So, I mean, to me, that's a potential halving of our sort of follow-up visits, and it's a reliable system that is able to follow these patients up. And the other side of the figure there shows overall satisfaction, and you can see, 90% or above for overall satisfaction. So people that took each of the virtual visits were highly satisfied with the virtual visits. So I think it's a very interesting way of us thinking about how we might deliver care beyond the scope of our hospital and, within our resource limitations of our clinicians. So yes, I think it's feasible, but we're examining how effective it is in improving clinical outcomes. All right, I'm going to jump to another slightly different area, and that is, can we manage patients' own blood pressure at home? So this is actually a trial that was published this year by a group in Korea, and it's a small trial, and it's not really an AI trial, but I wanted to show it to you because of a couple of reasons. So this was patients with hypertension. They were randomized to self-monitoring blood pressure with feedback alerts for blood pressure measurement. So if their blood pressure was high, the clinicians could see that their blood pressure was high, and they could give them a phone call. So, it's just a general virtual care, but just a dashboard. And it was compared to self-monitoring of blood pressure alone. At 24 weeks, there was a reduction in blood pressure in the intervention arm, so minus 22 millimetres versus minus 17 millimetres, so a small reduction, but still a reduction. And this is a pretty simple intervention, but it's still quite manual in that the clinicians are monitoring a dashboard and they're still ringing up and things like that. But I wanted to show you this to explain to you the sort of intervention we are now trialling. So this is from our centre now as well, and we've just recruited about 450 patients to this study. This is the question we're trying to ask is, can we automate the medical management and up titration of the medicines in these patients with hypertension? So again, it's patients with hypertension in the community, and the main way of talking to the patients is either in-app messaging or messaging. But what this does is that it takes a number of different data points into our algorithm. So it's not only the blood pressure data, their step count data, their exercise duration, their heart rate. It also takes the patient clinical characteristics. It also takes data from our previous trials, so in terms of how we best engage with patients. It also takes messages in about the tone of the message they send or the intent, some of the similarity, the sort of things they like. So it's taking in some of what we call the natural language processing, and all of that is then personalising how we respond to patients. So just to give you a clearer understanding of what's happening, the algorithms will then nudge patients to repeat measures, for example. If the blood pressure is high, the algorithms will trigger it's high and send reminders to measure things. If it's high multiple times, the patient is sent a letter summarising the blood pressure measurements and making clinical recommendations to their community doctor, and they're to take that referral letter to the clinical doctor, which will suggest what the patient should do or what the doctor should do in up-titrating medicines. And as I talk to you, the natural language processing algorithms are also trying to keep that patient engaged and keep that patient monitoring their blood pressure and doing other things like lifestyle and other health wellness modification. So that's how we're using AI or algorithms in nudging patients to the doctor. It's not absolutely hands-off. Obviously, we can't in Australia. An app can't prescribe medicine, so still our doctors have to prescribe medicine. But this is starting to let the algorithms make the decisions about when the medicines perhaps could be prescribed and nudging the doctor. So again, we will report this next year to see if this is effective. All right, so the last area I'm going to talk about, and arguably, hopefully an important one, certainly to Rajiv and myself, is AI and digital health interventions in prevention. I think I've already touched on a number of the ways that AI and digital health interventions could help to scale prevention efforts, enhance screening, and provide personalised prevention that is both affordable and scalable. I'm going to touch on screening, patient education, and personalised prevention with nudging. So this is a trial led by a previous PhD student who's also a primary care doctor. And we asked him this: can wearables and low-cost mobile devices improve population screening? So in this particular randomised clinical trial, we compared a remote digital health intervention model, so patients using handheld ECGs to screen for AF, and they had to send the ECGs daily, 5 days out of 7, to our central unit. We had AI algorithms reviewing the ECGs coming in, and any that identified, so they had no AF at the start of the study, so any of the AI ECGs that identified potential AF, we then had a clinician check whether it was AF, and if it was AF, we then alerted the patient and their doctor. Now, the interesting thing about this study was that it was only in 75-plus-year-olds. So the average age of patients in this study was 80. So as I said, it was remote recruitment. We recruited 200 patients, many from our state, but also from other states across Australia. The average age was about 80, and about half of them were female. What we were impressed by is that the people were incredibly compliant to this program. 98.5% of them completed the 6-month program, and 96% of them reported they were satisfied with this program. And they were highly adherent to the ECG monitoring. We asked them to do 20 ECGs per month, and the median number of ECGs we received per month was 20. So we were amazingly impressed at how these people were just so, I suppose, engaged with this program. Overall, we received over 30,000 ECGs, and the AF was diagnosed at a higher rate in the intervention group by an odds ratio of 5.6. So a highly significant result in being able to automatically screen for AF with a self-screening mechanism. And, you know, I only had 2 staff to oversee the 30,000 ECGs. But just to give you an idea that AI ECG does help in doing the screening here. And I know that you probably can't read all of this detail, but this was just why this worked for this patient population. The feedback we got was patients felt empowered, they felt autonomy, they felt like they were in control of their own health. They found it very convenient, they didn't have to go to a doctor for screening. They felt it was integrated into their care. They felt that you know, the notifications was very manageable through the ECG and the app. They felt well supported by the whole program. They thought it was also an opportunity to socially network. So they learnt, I suppose, a little bit more about digital health, but they were able to network with the health providers via text. They thought it was nice to get the doctor recommendations, and they felt the program was credible because it was run out of a quaternary centre, which is what we are at Westmead. All right, so last few slides here, but this study was just looking at can LLMs, so the large language models, answer patient questions. This is a systematic review to evaluate large language models applications in cardiovascular disease. It identified 35 studies, 54% of them in primary prevention and about the rest in secondary prevention. It used commercial LLMs and about in all but one study, and it mainly addressed patient education, and 68% of the studies had the primary objective to evaluate whether the LLM's performance in answering patient questions. So how accurate they were, how comprehensive were the answers, and how generally safe the responses were that the LLM was giving. So in other words, you know, misinformation, hallucination, etc. So I'm not going to go through results in detail, but again, if you look at that image, you can just see a huge amount of variability. And that's probably the main finding, right? In other words, some of them thought it was accurate, some of them thought it was terrible, others, so there's a huge amount of variability in whether these studies concluded that the LLM was accurate enough or comprehensive enough or safe enough for patients, answering patient questions. So I think this raises a lot of questions for us as clinicians. A lot of our colleagues around the world aren't relying on this, and when they do studies, they don't think they're good enough. So can LLMs answer patient questions accurately and safely? I have to conclude that no, at the moment probably not, which is hard, I think, because I think a lot of our patients are already asking these large language models these questions. All right, I think the final thing I'm going to touch on is something we've been doing at Westmead Hospital, and Sanjeev alluded to my first clinical trial in digital health, which was a study called Text Me, Tobacco, Exercise and Diet Messages, and we published that trial now 10 years ago in JAMA, and you know, we're very proud of being able to do that. But it's taken some time for us to be able to implement that as a service out of our hospital. But in the last few years, we have been delivering it. And so this, I suppose, evaluation was, can we deliver personalised prevention messaging at scale? So what happens is all of our patients leaving cardiology or outpatients get this message. Hi, Clara, Westmead Cardiology would like to offer you to receive the General Heart Health Information Support support program. Our clinicians hope we can support and inform patients through a texting program. If you'd like to enrol, click here. So then they click and they answer a few more questions about themselves. Things like what language they want to get the program in, you know, whether they're vegetarian, whether they're smoker, things that aren't necessary in our electronic medical record, but that enables us to personalise or customise the content of the program. The algorithms select the content of the program, and all of the content of the program has been reviewed by our clinicians, our academics and patients. So we have a very large bank now of messages and content, videos that we have curated and cleared, I suppose, okayed for use by this program. And so these algorithms select what is the most appropriate for these patients and they start messaging them. They get up to about 4 messages per week covering lifestyle, clinical care tips, medications, and as I say, they're supplemented with videos, websites and other tools. And we have a health counsellor on the phone that reviews all incoming messages daily. So if they write a message back, we'll see that on our platforms and our counsellors can respond to them. I can tell you, so we've been offering this since 2021. We've had over 10,000 patients supported by the program now. Our enrolment rate is about 40%. So of all of the text messages we send, we only send 1, and so 40% of patients enroll, which is pretty high. We think we could get higher. 8.7% of them opt out before the end of the program, which is 6 months. But 70% of them have reported it improves their risk factors, and we have even higher satisfaction scores. So yes, we can deliver personalised prevention at scale. And we've done an initial evaluation of our program where we've compared patients who are enrolled in the program, about the first 4,000 patients, with patients that didn't get the program, and we looked at healthcare reutilisation, so whether they came back into the hospital and needed healthcare again. And the message here is that reutilisation rates were lower, 0.43 events versus 0.52 events, so on average a lower number of reutilisation. And as I said, they liked the program and they reported the program was useful. So after adjusting for risk factors and comorbidities, so patients that were in the program were slightly younger. The overall rate ratio reduction was about 10%. But interestingly, and you possibly can't see my note there, when we did what we call interaction analysis or heterogeneity analysis, we found that this program was most effective in older patients compared to younger patients, which we thought was interesting. And I'll leave up there a few things about what participants say. This makes my staff smile, which is always important to have happy staff. So things like, I would like to receive your messages every day. Why do you stop? Please continue to send. I value your service. So we stopped the program at 6 months. I think the program was great and very useful. I gave up smoking and started exercising again, eating healthy too. Thank you very much for your concern. This program is very helpful, highly appreciated, and I've recommended it to my friends. I'm very lucky to have been cared with such a program and realise that the cardiac team at Westmead Hospital has been dedicated themselves to patients by constantly studying and researching, for which I highly value your professional results, as well as your time spending on the program, which I never had from other hospitals. Thanks. All right, I'm not going to read them all, but just to give you an idea that it's a well-accepted program. So I think the last thing I wanted to show you was, I know I focus very much on cardiovascular health, and I am a cardiologist, but over the years we've increasingly collaborated with people from many other areas to support them delivering AI-driven or digital health intervention programs. So, you know, we've delivered programs in diabetes, in musculoskeletal or back pain, oral health, dermatology, medical devices, mental health, kidney disease, pregnancy, chronic pain, and this is kind of our timeline of multiple trials. We've delivered, you know, many trials over the time. We've also developed a lot of software, and we currently run these 3 cloud-based platforms, TextCare, MyCardiac, and DigiCurus. But our final platform, DigiCurus, which has just been updated in the last year, is our main platform now and can deliver all the functionality that I've sort of talked about from our health service. So we report to our team a report card, and this is our current report card. So far, we've engaged 200,000 participants on our platforms, or at least on the last 2 platforms. About 177,000 patients have completed programs. Overall, across all programs, the opt-out rate is 4%. We've supported 20 clinical trials, 20 health conditions. We've incorporated about 4,500 persons' feedback into our programs. Our average satisfaction rate across the programs is 99%. I've let you know about 79% report lifestyle changes and 72% report risk factor improvement. And we've been collaborating with hospitals, public health services, clinics and academic institutions, but also more recently with industry. All right, so thank you very much for listening. I wanted to conclude on a few final notes here. And I wanted to say to you that I think there are many opportunities for AI to be implemented. There is, however, uncertainty about where AI best fits into healthcare. I hope I've given you some examples of where I think AI can best fit into healthcare. I think the acceptability and technical infrastructure is growing, but applying AI requires rethinking of our healthcare and our workforce. So I think that's really important for us as sort of healthcare leaders and clinicians to learn about AI and really understand it. I think engaged leadership, and I'm sure many of the leadership here are engaged, and aligned stakeholders are key enablers to taking this on. As I said, in some areas, like in AI in medical documentation, AI in imaging, I think it's already happening, right? I think it's already being implemented. But I think that is and seeing improvements in efficiency and processes. But I think in other areas, remote and virtual care, personalised prevention, we're so far pretty early in implementing AI, but I think, and most of it is experimental, but I think that that's potentially where the excitement for the future is. We do need clinical trials. We do need robust evaluation. I think it's important we monitor these new technologies. And I think evaluation should also include how to implement these wells, but also the cost effectiveness of these interventions. And I suppose as final thoughts, I suppose AI is challenging the future of many traditional jobs. And I know that, we said, is AI going to replace clinicians? And I think inadvertently that concept is a barrier to the implementation of AI. I think we do need to embrace this as opposed to, be scared of it. AI and digital health interventions, I think, could be a solution for providing public health in the future. And that's hopefully where it will make the biggest benefits, and certainly where I'm going to continue to work in the future. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Can we have a huge, huge round of applause for this extremely informative talk on the use of artificial intelligence? And definitely, the findings, the researches that you share were, ma'am, really overwhelming and so encouraging for all the young researchers. Thank you so much. And the take-home message was the concluding slide, of course, that definitely, if applied judiciously, AI can be of great help to the clinicians, and it can do wonders if a balance of AI and human intelligence is there. Thank you so much. It's time now to felicitate Professor Clara for delivering this extremely encouraging oration. May I request you, ma'am, and all the dignitaries on the dais to please come in the center of the stage. Yes, ma'am, please. Can I have all the dignitaries in the center of the stage for the felicitations for this wonderful oration? So I would first and foremost request Professor V.K. Kapoor, our Pro Vice Chancellor, to present ma'am with a floral bouquet. I think the applause should be louder. I request Dr. Achal Gulati to felicitate ma'am with a shawl. In our Indian tradition, ma'am, this felicitation means a lot. It's a mark of respect and honor for any of our guests. So thank you so much. May I request the chairperson cum Chancellor, Dr. Swarankar, to present her ma'am with a citation scroll. We also have a memento from the organizing committee. I would request Dr. Rajiv Gupta and Dr. Sanjeev Gupta to present ma'am with this beautiful memento, an idol of late Dr. K.D. Gupta. And finally, I would request our Emeritus Chairperson, Dr. M.L. Swarankar, to present Professor Clara with the oration plaque and the honorarium for delivering this wonderful oration. And at this moment, may I request all seated in the audience to give a standing ovation to our guest and orator, and give a huge, huge, huge round of applause for delivering this very, very informative oration. Thank you all. Kindly take your seats. And ma'am, at this moment, would you like to say a few words?
Look, I'm nearly overwhelmed with the amount of appreciation that I've received from you and your team. I think that it's amazing to see how things have changed so rapidly here in India. As Rajiv mentioned, I had the privilege of being here over 20 years ago for the first time, and when I studied here and did my PhD. But to see the rapid change in India and things modernizing, but not only that, I think that the true caring nature and the family and community orientation of Indian people still is kind of the strength I see in India, and I feel that I've seen so much of that today, that real caring about each other and around, you know, the people of your community. So, gosh, I'm excited for your future. I see India as being kind of world potential leaders in this. Certainly the size of your health services are amazing. So thank you once again for a most fantastic opportunity to present today, and your amazing hospitality. Thank you.
Thank you so much, ma'am. It's time now to invite the founder and emeritus chairperson of our university, Honorable Dr. M.L. Swarankar, to address us all on this occasion.
I thank Professor Clara Chow for giving this wonderful 4th K.D. Gupta Memorial Oration today, and I think everybody is delighted. The future is there for the artificial intelligence, especially in medicine. It is already started implementing in pathology and radiology. And we are very open, as we were discussing, that our chairperson, Chancellor Dr. Swarankar has made a task force team about 6 months back to digitalize Mahatma Gandhi Hospital by 31st of December of 25. So at least that will generate more data, and things gradually will improve. Maybe when you come next time, you will see a lot of applications driven by artificial intelligence in Mahatma Gandhi Hospital. This we can assure you, and we are really grateful. We are grateful to Dr. Rajiv Gupta and Dr. Sanjeev Gupta to bring every time renowned speakers, orators for this prestigious Dr. K.D. Gupta Memorial Orations. I have been his student. I learned how to bedside manner from Dr. K.D. Gupta, how to read the ECG, how to take so many clinical parameters for that matter. So it is very touching for us, and we hope that every time these orations will be as best as today. I thank family of Dr. K.D. Gupta who have traveled all the way from the United States, Dr. Sanjeev's family, and of course you have traveled from Australia just for this oration. We are grateful. We are grateful to many our alma maters from Bikaner Medical College and other faculty and students from the Mahatma Gandhi University of Medical Sciences. With these words, I thank you once again. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir. As we come towards the end of today's program, may I now request the Vice Chancellor of Mahatma Gandhi University, Dr. Achal Gulati, to deliver a formal vote of thanks.
Towards the end of this illuminating session, it's my privilege to propose a vote of thanks as we conclude this inspiring oration on artificial intelligence and its role of future in medicine. Having said that, I would like to emphasize on one thing. This is just the end of this program. But however, Madam, it's going to be a beginning of memories and appreciation of what you have just enlightened us, and as you leave behind these messages over here. First and foremost, let me express our heartfelt gratitude to Professor Clara Chow for delivering such a thought-provoking oration on artificial intelligence. You know, how do you say thank you to someone who's made this 25th October 2025 the first major function as we enter into our Silver Jubilee? I really do not know. It's a dilemma. How to say thank you to someone you can't even imagine knows so much about artificial intelligence using the natural intelligence what she has. The issue that comes across, what she has just said across, I think has demystified the science behind the intelligent machines. That is driven not only by a lot of algorithms, by a lot of machine learning, deep learning, but it is driven by what is fed into it by the natural intelligence of human being. It is that wisdom that we use. In your talk has managed to bridge that gap between the innovation and introspection. You so beautifully highlighted how technology, when guided by clinical wisdom and compassion, can become a powerful ally. Not just in diagnostics or data analysis, but in delivering more precise, personalized, and humane care. You have reminded us that while machines may learn patterns, it is we humans behind that who must continue to uphold the empathy, ethics, and understanding, making us into two human beings. The algorithms may analyze, they may predict, but at the end of the day, it is the physician's empathy and the ethical judgment that must remain at the heart of healing. That is what has been depicted in the movie on the late Dr. K.D. Gupta. Your words have inspired us to see technology not as a replacement for human care, but as a thoughtful companion. Our sincere and humble respect today and always to the late Dr. K.D. Gupta for fathering Dr. Rajiv and Sanjeev Gupta and Ms. Indu Agarwal and nurturing the entire Gupta family and the extended family with the highest traditional values as to how these values should actually be. They have truly been worthy sons and daughters and leaders of the family of a great and worthy father. A special word of appreciation goes to the guests today, the staff, the employees of the Mahatma Gandhi family who have joined us on this such an occasion in the enthusiasm and curiosity. Your presence has greatly added depth to today's discourse. To all our students and residents across the campus, the future doctors, professionals, researchers, and innovators, I am sure that today's talk is going to inspire you to explore the interface between the medicine and machine learning with both curiosity and conscience and an originally intelligent mind. Thank you for your presence. Our sincere thanks to the team whose tireless efforts ensured this session ran seamlessly, and to our technical support team who managed the virtual and the physical logistics and the precision worthy of the AI system itself. To our Chairperson Emeritus, Dr. M.L. Swarankar, Chancellor, Dr. Vikas Chandra Swarankar, the Board of Management, the management of the university, a deep sense of appreciation and gratitude for leading the university to the heights that it has already achieved and is soaring high above that, creating a platform of such academic perseverance and excellence. To Dr. Bushra Fiza for being an ever perfect host for the day, a big thanks. So as we conclude, let us carry forward a message for today's oration. The future of medicine lies not only in advancing machines that can think, but in nurturing the minds that can feel, reason, and heal with compassion. AI, as our speaker reminded us, is not here to replace human intelligence, but to amplify our collective capacity to think, create, and care. On that note, we once again thank you, our distinguished speaker, Professor Clara Chow, and all of you for making this oration a memorable intellectual appearance. Thank you, and may your curiosity continue to learn intelligently and ethically. Jai Hind, Jai Bharat, Jai MGUMST.
Thank you so much, sir. With this, we conclude today's program, rather a great academic feast. Once again, I, Dr. Bushra Fiza, extend my heartfelt gratitude towards Professor Clara, all distinguished dignitaries and guests for gracing this program. And on behalf of all the faculty and students, I extend my heartfelt gratitude towards our university management and the organizing committee for giving us this opportunity to witness today's amazing talk. Thank you all for being a wonderful audience. Before we disperse, may I request all of you to kindly rise for the national anthem.
जन गण मन अधिनायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता पंजाब सिंध गुजरात मराठा द्राविड़ उत्कल बंग विंध्य हिमाचल यमुना गंगा उच्छल जलधि तरंग तब शुभ नामे जागे तब शुभ आशीष मांगे गाहे तब जय गाथा जन गण मंगलदायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता जय हे जय हे जय हे जय 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 हे.
Thank you. All dignitaries, guests, and faculty members are invited for lunch at the RK Block Grand Cafeteria. Thank you.